You got 40 grown-ass, tough men serving 40 years, 8 years, listening to a 20-year-old kid. That's insane. When you come home from prison, it's like a badge of honor. And now, as an adult, that shit is backward. 60-year-old white man who's a psychologist might say the same thing I'm saying, right. But like, I would look at that and be like, you don't know what the hell I've been through. If I say, damn, man, I'm angry, I respond angrily. But if I'm able to sit down and say, I didn't feel angry, I felt humiliated, I respond now as a humiliated person. The Elons and the rich, wear the shit we wear? Right. Everybody got on Wranglers. Our culture is so caught up on like, I gotta have the next Louis Vuitton, I gotta have the Yeezy. The reality is you can't afford it. Start a Roth IRA, investment account ASAP. Compound interest just builds, and these are the type of things we were never taught.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the For Good podcast, where we focus on the good, never the bad, where we're measured on what we do and not what we have. Today, I'm excited to sit down with my guy, Trell Britton, a.k.a. Trell the Trainer. This man has turned his struggles into strength and his past into purpose. After serving time in federal prison, Trell, you rebuilt, your life from ground up using fitness, discipline, and entrepreneurship as your foundation. You've impacted so many through, your raw storytelling, your commitment to empowering others, from checking on your friends' mental health to creating healthier food options with your vegan truck now turned to restaurant, as I'm seeing. Everything you do is about making an impact. I appreciate you coming out. First of all, I wanted to make sure I gave you all your flowers and let you understand that we do see what you're doing for the community. Thank you for being here, bro.
I appreciate it, man. That's a crazy intro, man. I feel honored to even be here. So, man, thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being on. And, I think you are the type of person that embodies what this podcast is really about. It's about, giving back to the community. It's about, mental health. It's about, just discipline and personal growth and inspiring stories. And I think your story is one, that a lot of young men need to hear, and a lot of young men need to kind of, take notice to that. There's other options and there's other things to do out here, and there's other ways. So let's get into some questions, man.
Man, let's do it, man. I'm here to talk about anything. Let's run it. Hopefully we can inspire somebody to tell their story or get some shit done,
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the impact of survival mode and breaking the cycle. Now, can I talk to you a little bit about how you grew up and when you first realized that you were in survival mode?
So, I don't know, man. I call it, and I hate to call it this, but I call it typical black man story, man. I grew up single mom. My dad was in prison up until I was about 4 or 5 years old. And I think my earliest memories is just like, figuring out life and how to get dressed for school. My mom already left out for work, and I'm basically figuring out just like small things on my own. And I don't think it really hit me that like not having my dad around and like growing up with a single mom until I was about, I want to say maybe like 10 or 12, when I was able to really start processing thoughts and feelings and seeing other kids with their parents and dads. And I'm just like, damn, like, my dad and me and my mom would start having those conversations. And what I realized is that I hate to call it normal, but like it was very common in my group of friends, my circle. Like all of us didn't have a dad around. They were either dead or in prison. And that's basically like how we grew up. And so I think I first went to like a juvenile detention at 13, like stealing cars, carrying guns, selling drugs, just growing up in that like very impoverished neighborhood, just like me and all my friends. And again, that was common, but I always misconstrued common as normal. And so like I thought that shit was normal, but like when I got older and went to like federal prison, I realized like there's a different world, and that shit wasn't normal. And so my dad got murdered when I was 15. My dad was like, sadly, my dad was like a bank robber, a robber, jack boy, whatever most people want to consider it. and my mom was a drug dealer. And so like that's what I was, a product of both of those two. And so you can only imagine what that's like. And so I was either selling drugs or I was out here robbing people. And so I remember going to prison at about 13, again, for like stealing a car or something. Got out, and that was like my first badge of honor. I remember like, yeah, all right, like I'm in this shit now. And you know, when you come home from prison, it's like a badge of honor. You get like rewarded. You get like, hey, like you made it, like you finally. And now as an adult, I'm just thinking like that shit is so that shit is backwards. Like that shit is dumb. But yeah, that's like my first few memories. And then, like I said, he was murdered when I was 15 or 16. And I think that's when it really hit for me, because I felt at that age that now I had to step up and provide for not just like my mom, but my entire family. His side of the family, they kind of like banking on me now. They like, shit, he was the only man in the family. So like you almost got to step up and take his place. He was the only child. I mean, the only like male. And so like my grandma looked at me like him. And so like all of the things he used to do, she wanted me to do, like bring her groceries and do all this shit. And then my mom, now I'm 16. I'm like, damn, I can see her struggling. And I'm like, I would feel less of a man if I didn't like step up. Right. And so that's how I got to like selling drugs. And that's when I kind of knew I was like, all right, like I'm really out here at 16 years old trying to figure this shit out. Wow. So that's like my first like recollection of it.
So you would say that, you know, your form of survival mode was coming from wanting to provide and to keep everything rocking for your family. So I totally get that, man. Now, yeah. You spoke about prison a little bit, and you know, we've done our research on you, and I've seen that you've talked a lot, you know, about PTSD from the FBI raid and solitary confinement. How does that still show up in your daily life, the PTSD?
It's crazy that you even said that, bro, because
I told you, we do our research, man, and we really love, you know, the story.
Nah, for real. Somebody asked me this recently, and like one thing that it happened to me this morning, man, and somebody asked me, they was like, yo, like, what are some of your triggers from like prison? And I've never been asked that question. Like, what's something that in today's society that triggers you, that makes you like have that PTSD from prison? And I experienced it this morning, and I've been out 7 years. So like to think about that is like, damn, like this shit, we really need therapy. Like you really gotta see this shit through, but like for me, I don't know what it is when I'm in my bedroom and I'm asleep. If I hear a loud noise in like my living room or by my door area, like I just wake up and I be having to like remind myself to like, all right, breathe, like you're not in jail, bro. Like you good, like,
right.
Hey, bro. But like, it's like a scary, I want to say like 12 seconds. And so again, I grew up in an environment, in a household where like PTSD or like panic attacks or like anxiety, that wasn't something real to us. That was like, boy, shut the hell up. What you mean you got anxiety? Like that? And so this morning when it happened, I was like, damn, like I really felt like, you know, my heart was racing, my body, and like I felt chemicals in my body being released that I'm just like, damn. And I'm reminding myself to just like, all right, Trey, just relax, just breathe. And I remember just breathing for like 10 seconds. Oh, like, yo, this shit not normal. And so it's small shit like that affects like daily, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why it's so many, bro. If I can go on, it's a list of shit, but like that's like, and it's crazy that you even said that, because I had to do that this morning when I woke up, and I don't know why. It don't happen every morning. I would say maybe once every 2 weeks, but it happens.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Because what happened when I first went to prison, I was staying with my aunt at the time. Well, it's a group of us. So anyhow, I remember I was dating a young lady.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 18. She may be like 23, 24. She in college. And I was head over heels for this lady. She was the most beautiful woman I've ever had in my entire life. I'm like, hey, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to like be with this woman. And this was the first time I've ever been given an ultimatum. So she shut me down. She was just like, hey, like, I rock with you. You cool. You doing your little thing, but like, that's not my life. if you want to be with me, we're going to have to figure out how to make this legit. Like, you'll have to go get some. And I was like, damn. But I respected it, and I was just so geeked to, like, be with this woman. And I was like, all right, here's what we do. If you help me get a job, I'll do it. I'll stop selling drugs. And so, like, I want to say for, like, 2 weeks straight, we did a resume. We started applying for jobs, and I had landed a job at Comcast. I was supposed to start on a Monday. It was my first day, and that same morning, the FBI came, bust down my door. Like, and this, mind you, I hadn't sold drugs 3 months prior. I had stopped because I wanted to be with this lady. So, like, for the last 2-3 months, I hadn't sold a drug. I hadn't committed a crime. I literally was just trying to, like, figure it out. But
still caught up to you.
That's not how the FBI work. Yeah, I was under investigation that whole year prior. And so it was like, I don't care. Like, you coming with us.
Wow.
And so, like, that's where that came from. And I remember I was sleeping on the couch at the time, and I just hear a big boom. I heard a boom. And so, like, my first thought growing up in the streets, I'm like, damn, somebody trying to rob us. And I remember I used to keep, like, my little pistol in my closet. And so when I heard the boom, my first thought was to get up and run to the closet to, like, try and get the pistol. But I remember my homeboy I gave it to him the day before because he was going into, like, a neighborhood who we weren't necessarily cool with. And so at that moment, panic set in. And I just remember hearing FBI. And when I heard FBI, like, my whole body kind of just shut down. Because now I'm terrified. Like, this ain't the Jack Boys, this FBI. Like, this some big shit. And I remember just going back on the couch, and I just laid there. I was just like, all right, whatever happens, it's about to happen. And the door came busting down. And then they came in. It was a lady. It was probably like 12, 13 officers rushed in my apartment. If it's a lady coming last, she had on, like, this trench coat. It's almost like a movie scene, legit. She coming with a trench coat. She had a clipboard. And I remember she had all of us, like me, my aunt, cousins, all of us, like, tied up on the couch. We just, like, and so this whole time, mind you, I hadn't sold a drug or committed a crime 3 months prior. So my cousin, we were around the same age. We both grew up in the streets. So I'm looking at him. I'm like, man, like, I'm whispering, I'm like, yo, what the hell did you do? Like, he like, shit, I ain't do nothing. So we both looking like, man, what? Somebody did something because they here.
Right.
And then I remember she had a clipboard. She scanned my aunt. Nope. She scanned boyfriend. Nope. She scanned my cousin. She looked at me, looked back, and she was like, we got him. Like, well, I was like, what the fuck? Like, what did I do? So, yeah, that's how that day happened. It was a lot. But I remember it, like, vividly.
Wow. That's a crazy story, just how that happened. And now I can see why the PTSD of hearing that loud noise bothers you, because that's kind of how it happened to you, right? That's when it all kind of unfolded. So, man, that's insane, man. I want to finish talking about one last thing in survival mode, and I'd love to hear your point to Black men. Really, what are the biggest mental traps you believe that keep Black men stuck in survival mode?
Well, one that I know I had to face was that, like, I gotta be, like, gangster. I gotta be tough. I gotta be like, that shit for the birds. That shit gonna land you 2 places. They used to say this all the time, and I was so young and naive, and I thought I was above the law. I thought I was the toughest. That shit gonna land you in a casket, or it's gonna land you in prison. I've seen it. I want to say out of the 15 childhood friends that I've grew up with, it's probably 4 of us that's, like, left, that's not in prison or that's not dead. So that goes to show that the numbers that shit don't add up. So, like, this idea that, like, we gotta be like, or live this rap life and be tough and, like, that shit for the birds. I think that keeps us stuck, especially in the impoverished communities. We've been conditioned to, and I get it. You know, I get it. I've experienced it, but this mindset, they're like, oh, we suffer in silence. Sure, but there's going to become a point, bro, that, like, you're not going to be able to keep using that as an excuse where we say, like, oh, man, Black men. And I'm an advocate for it. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm with it. I get it. Listen, bro, I've lived it. I preach it. I teach it. I've studied it. But at some point, this we suffer in silence shit is getting old. Like, if suffering in silence is increasing these suicidal rates, something has to change. And so now I'm encouraging, like, I'm like, hey, this not working. Maybe you need to suffer out loud.
Yeah.
And that's going to take a level of vulnerability. And I get that. That's not some easy shit. It's easier said than done. But I tell hey, the last time you suffered in silence, my boy, I almost lost you. I need you to speak up. We got to speak up. We got to be able to express how we feel. To me, it's manly to hold space. It's manly to embrace how you feel. That's manly to me. That's macho.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's easy to be tough and not express how you feel to nobody in your life. That's easy to do. And I encourage especially my homies around me. I'm like, hey, like, how you feeling? They're like, oh, I'm good. Nah, what's on your mind? Tell me your mental, emotional, physical. Give me a scale of 1 through 10. And I want them to get used to being able to like have these conversations like in a healthy manner. Yeah. And so like, I think that's one of the biggest ones that face our society is just like, oh man, we suffer in silence. We have 4 years, no doubt, but that shit ain't working. So something has to change.
I agree. You know, I think especially with black men, not only do we suffer in silence, but I love what you said in the beginning is that everybody has to be tough. Everybody has to fit into this kind of pre-made culture that we think we're supposed to look like, but nobody wants to truly look within and be themselves. And I think when people do look within it and are themselves is when they truly find happiness, right? Is when you truly say, well, I don't, you know, there's nothing wrong with me. It doesn't mean that I'm not tough when I need to be, but I don't need to be tough all the time. You know what I mean? So I think there's a constant battle with all black kids, whether they come from money or don't come from money, where it's like, I need to fit in. I need to have this certain bravado to me. I need to have this certain toughness for me to fit into my culture. You know what I mean? And I think that doesn't happen in most cultures, but it happens a lot in the black culture where it's like you need to prove yourself in some type of gangster setting to be respected. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Everybody want to be tough.
Right. Right.
Like that shit, hey, come on, bro. And then when I went to prison, like, I'm going to be honest, that's where the tough guys at. That's where the guys serving 60, 70 years of life that they don't care about shit. Like, think you tough until you run into some real tough people. You know? That's the same thing I say when somebody be like, oh, I'm emotionally intelligent. Yeah, until you meet another emotionally intelligent person. Then it's like, oh, like I ain't as emotionally intelligent as I thought. It's the same thing.
Right.
So
you were just talking about vulnerability and mental health, and I wanted to jump right into that subject because obviously, you know, your mental health check-ins is one of the main reasons that I really started following you and really getting engaged with what you got going on because I felt it was so important. So, you know, you talk about checking in on your friends, asking how's your mental. Why is that so important to you?
Again, I think it speaks to my point of the we suffering in silence thing. And I think for me, one day, you know, I go through shit. Like, I ain't perfect. Like, just because I know enough about it and I talk about it, I go through shit. And so I think I was just having a rough day. And I was like, damn, young, like, I want to talk about this shit. And so I went out. I remember I just went out. I went to a place where I feel safe and comfortable. Growing up, I used to hike and shit. Like, that's what the programs used to get us to do. Like, all right, let's get all the kids from the hood out the hood. Let's go hiking. Let's go. Woo, woo. And so I've always been connected to nature, lakes, cabins. Like, that's my place where I'm just like, I feel like a kid again. Like, I feel free. And so I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll go to this lake and maybe I'll have a conversation out loud with myself. And like, I'm going to record this shit because now I'm doing content. I'm like, somebody else could probably use this conversation that I have with myself. And so I just remember going out there and like, because it seemed, if you look at the video, it's like I'm talking to like you. But essentially, I'll be talking to myself. And I tell people that all the time. Like I'm really talking to myself. And I know I'm not the only person that's feeling this. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so like, that is kind of my initiative to like heal out loud. And not necessarily heal, but to like express how I'm feeling openly and like vulnerably, you know? And I think that's like the first step. Like, sure, you feel these emotions, and that's only one part of emotional intelligence, because now you have to be able to not only feel and express, communicate this to everybody in your life in a safe way, safe manner.
I agree. You know, I've done a lot of motivational talks myself and quotes, and a lot of people are like, oh, that helps me so much. And I'm like, little do you know, I'm talking to myself every time I do these. It's me talking to myself. And I think those are the most powerful thought leaders, are the ones that are truly talking from experience and talking to themselves, because, you know, all of this stuff is relatable. You know, we all are different people. We come from different walks of life, but we all go through the same things, you know, mentally, and we all kind of go through the same emotions. So I think even doing that is amazing, that you just one day decided, you know, I'm doing content anyway. Let me talk to myself, put it out there, and you see how much of an impact that it created, because people need that type of stuff. You know what I mean? So,
and I think
I'm listening. No, I love what you said.
I was gonna say, and two, what I think helps is that, like, I'm also open and vulnerable about my story and where I come from. Yep. And so, unlike, no shade, but the 60-year-old white man who's a psychologist, you know, might say the same thing I'm saying, you know, but like, I would look at that and be like, you don't know what the hell I've been through. You ain't been through what I've been through. So like, I think people can be like, damn, like, I know bruh. Like, I was there when bruh got out of prison, or I know bruh from prison, like, and this shit, like, real, like, you know what I'm saying? And so I think that helps, that relatability.
Yeah. You said people reach out to you with their struggles. How do you balance helping others while also protecting your own mental health?
That's a great question, and I can't say honestly that I've quite figured it out. All of this whole social media stuff is still new for me. I've been doing it a few years, but like before I was doing like prison cleaning videos, and I kind of just got into the mental, emotional well-being like stage of social media. And so like oftentimes I'm a pretty happy person. Like I'm a pretty stoic, positive person. But I find myself being like, you know, sad a lot of the times. Not sad because I'm a sad person, but like with the work that I do, I get, I want to say 15 to 20 DMs, emails per day of young men who are dying, for lack of a better word, because they never hear like words of encouragement, you know? And so like I'll get a 16-year-old kid that's just like, damn, bro, like this video saved my life. Like I thought about taking my life. And so for me, like I'm honored to like be that person that you feel comfortable coming to, or that sparked the change for you not to do that. But there's also a side of me that's like, damn, like I carry that with me. You know what I'm saying? When you getting those type of messages every day, I'm like, damn, like at 16 years old, this young man wanted, for whatever reason, to take his life. And so I carry that shit with me like daily. And so sometimes like my life is pretty good. Like I'm good, but like my fulfillment is in like essentially lifting a load from society. And I'm realizing that sometimes that load that I'm lifting, it's often an emotional or like mental load from like another like young kid, and it's a lot heavier than I expected the shit be. You know what I'm saying? But like, hell yeah, we figuring it out. Like imagine seeing every day 16-year-old kids and 22-year-old men that's like, man, I lost my job, my mom died, I don't know what to do. I'm just like, damn, like what the hell can I say? Right. You know, you live with it, man. So like I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm still figuring it out, bro.
So, you know, as you still figure it out, for the men who struggle to ask for help or open up, what advice would you give?
I think the first step, and it's super cliche, but it's to allow yourself to feel whatever it is that you're feeling. I think we've been conditioned to not feel. And one of the only emotions that we understand and know is anger. And it's like, there's so many different feelings on the feeling wheel. If you look at a feeling wheel, there's so many different, but the only one that we know and resort to is anger, because at some point, if you allow this to keep just piling on, you're going to explode. And I get it. And so I would suggest sitting down, for sure therapy, but sometimes sitting down with yourself and start identifying properly the emotions that you experience and you feel. Look at a feeling chart. So if something happened to you today, go on that feeling chart and say, damn, this made me feel this way. Because what happens, and I learned this in therapy, is that the word that you use as a feeling is how you respond to a situation, if that makes sense. So like, let's say somebody or a homeboy stepped on my shoe or like cursed at me or called me out my name in front of women. If I say, damn, man, I'm angry, I respond angrily.
Right.
But if I'm able to sit down and say, I didn't feel angry, like it don't make me angry, I felt humiliated. I respond now as a humiliated person, or like, you know, and you respond how you, like it's directly correlated to the feeling word that you like
Right.
give yourself. And so I would encourage you to like, you know, sit down sometimes and process that feeling instead of just resorting to anger immediately. That's been like pivotal for me, like really identifying what an emotion.
I love that.
That way I'm better.
Process feeling. Process
sure,
of feeling
I'm
is
better.
important for your mental health, man.
Sure, man. And then you can navigate it more effectively. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, how do you,
Agreed.
if you don't, if you got a GPS, if you only know one, one destination, like, you know, that's the only thing you're going to go to. But if you're like, oh, I can go this way, this way, this way. This route takes me 12 minutes, but I get to see the trees, the flowers. This route takes me 8 minutes. Maybe I can stop and grab lunch. This
Right.
route, you know what I'm saying? You can see the options, and then you can now make a decision, whatever that decision looked like for you. You know?
Right. Instead of making an impulse decision, you know, sit down and think what route you want to take. I love that.
Yeah. Because if you
love
only know one route, you're 9 times out of 10 going to take that one route.
You're going to take the crash route.
You don't know nothing about these other two routes because you've never explored them.
Right. I love that.
Same thing.
Let's talk about fitness. I know you love fitness. You're in the gym a lot. You're a trainer as well. You know, I know that's one of the main things that you've done and you do. From my understanding, you started leading workouts in prison. When
Yep.
did fitness become more than just something to do and turn into a mental reset for you?
In prison. So a lot of people don't know. I don't speak on it often. But when the FBI raided my crib, my grandmother, she was 78, 79. She had a heart attack. She passed away 2 weeks later. And so like that type of shit sit with you. And so like I had to sit in prison knowing that like essentially my actions and FBI busted down my door scared the shit out of my grandmother who had a heart attack and passed. And you live with that. And so some days I just started walking. I started doing push-ups just to like cope with what I was dealing with. And I want to say when I got shipped out, because you know you start at jail, I got shipped out to prison once I got my sentence. And I just kept at it because one thing about me is like when I do something, I do it. I'm all in. It ain't no, I'm all in. And so I was just getting it in every day. And I remember it was just like a young dude that I knew from, I didn't know him from the streets, but I knew him through mutual friends. Came up one day and was like, hey, like, I don't know what workout you on, but like, everything I can work out with you. I'm like, man, for sure. Like, let's get it. Months later, I had a prison yard of 30, 40 men, like, following my lead every day. And to the average brain, that might not sound like nothing. But if you think about, you got 40 grown-ass, stubborn, tough men serving 40 years, 8 years, 12 years, listening to a 20-year-old kid, like that's insane. It's hard to even communicate to dudes in prison. It's very
It's
just
hard to
like
communicate to dudes outside of prison. And so even in prison is a large feat, I would say.
yeah, like these the toughest dudes in the world. Like these dudes been in here longer than I've been alive. These dudes 50. He been in since he was 17. Like
Wow.
for him to be humble enough to listen and follow my lead because he trusts my work, like that shit was monumental. And I never see it. I never seen that. I never processed that aspect of it. I just felt like, yo, we having fun. Like we're not fighting and stabbing each other. Like there's some positive shit. Like let's do this.
Right.
And my old head came up to me one day and he was like, youngin'. He was like, youngin', you got something. And I was like, huh? He was like, man, you got something. For you to be 19 years old, able to lead 40 grown-ass men in prison, you have something. And I was like, damn. And I thought about it one day and I was like, damn, man, I'm grateful for that. And so as my time got closer and closer to release, I think I was like 12 months out. He was like, hey, you know, maybe you should try the personal trainer thing. Again, where I come from and grew up, that wasn't a thing. I never knew a personal trainer. I didn't know that shit to be cool. Like I've never heard of it. I'm like, personal training, like how they make money? Like you train people, teach them to get in shape, like you get paid. I'm like, real? I'm like, shit, like I can fuck with that. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so then he essentially encouraged me to even take that route. And so when I got out, I bartended for, I want to say 2-3 weeks. And I was like, yeah, this definitely not for me. And so that's when I took up the personal training thing. And that kind of like took off for me. That's how I got my initial start in social media. The whole Troy Trainer shit came about. So that's how I got the start in it.
Dope. Fitness. So speaking about that, can you let me know how fitness helped you build structure, discipline, and patience? Not just physically, but in business and life.
Yeah, for sure. I just think one thing that I often speak on when it comes to men and masculinity is confidence. A lot of men lack confidence. Confidence comes from evidence. And what I mean by evidence is that confidence is built on self-belief, what you believe about yourself. Self-belief is built on promises you keep with yourself. And so imagine signing an agreement with yourself and you continuously break it. Of course you won't have confidence. You get what I'm saying? But I know something as simple as exercising and making my bed every morning. I have committed, I have signed an agreement with myself that I will do these things every single day. We'll work out. I don't necessarily go to the gym every day, but I'll go for a walk. I'll do something. I made an agreement with myself. I signed it and I commit to that. And that just helps me every day, no matter what I do, know that like, all right, today is going to, you've accomplished one thing today. You've accomplished two things. And the more that you're able to like habit stack, you essentially it improves your trust with yourself. You get what I'm saying? Because like, how the hell is somebody else in this world going to trust you? You can't even trust yourself, Right. And so like, my bed is my first accomplishment of the day. It ain't about making no bed. An 8-year-old can make a bed, you know what I'm saying, not process what that means. But for me, making my bed is my first accomplishment. Yeah. That inspires me to now say, all right, what else can I accomplish today? Yeah. And so it's just small shit, just keeping small promises to yourself and building on that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm heavy on the gym. I go every day, and I think it's important just because, like you said, it's something that I do it in the morning because it makes me feel accomplished, and then it gives me that same question, okay, what else can I accomplish today? Whether it's in business, whether it's as a dad, as a husband, as anything, now I feel strong enough and confident, right, to go throughout the day and keep accomplishing things because I already accomplished something that's so hard in the morning, right? A lot of people don't do it. A lot of people don't stay true to the grind. And another thing I love about fitness is you actually see the results when you put in the work, and that I apply to life, right? I look at that at life. Like every day you have to be consistent with doing something if you have a goal to reach, right? Like I want to be stronger. I want a bigger chest. I want abs. I want this. You have to constantly wake up every day and kind of go hard for that goal, eat the right way, work out the right way, make sure you're showing up. And I apply that to life too. It's like, okay, I want my company to kind of be the biggest thing in the world. I need to show up every day. I need to work on it every day. I need to figure out where am I weak at so I can get stronger there in the company, or where I need to fix, or how I need to do different things. It's the same thing in the gym. So I think that fitness, like you said, it applies to life of just accomplishing something and feeling accomplished.
And too, man, like, You'll grow to realize that, like, when it comes to emotional, physical, mental, it's almost like you can't have one without the other.
Nope.
like it's like a triangle. Like it can't even work out if one is lacking. Like one is gonna be all one, and not that all have to be perfect, but they all should be in alignment. You know what I'm saying? Like they all should kind of have an alignment to them. And so, like, sure, you make money and you got a happy girlfriend, but like you're obese and you're battling your health. Like that can't be great. How can you be the best possible husband or dad if you're not even right with self. You know what I'm saying? So I always tell men to prioritize your health. That should be your number one priority. And I tell it to a woman that comes into my life, hey, look, my health, my mission, you'll probably be third or fourth on my list. If you can accept that, we can work out. But if my health and my purpose are not in a line, there's no way I could be a great person.
Can't be great for them if you're not great for yourself.
There's no way.
You no way.
There's no way possible. You shouldn't even want that for me.
Talking about applying it to business and life, I want to talk about your businesses a little bit and the business shift that you've been on. You know, you talked about shifting from fast money to long-term investments. What was the hardest part of that shift for you?
Getting the money. And I say getting the money, I mean getting the legal money. You know, because excuse me. There's also a shift that happens when you reach a certain level of financial stability, and I speak on this one often, is that I don't think money is everything. Not at all. I think there's a way to have a balanced life where money just is enough to keep you like alive, food, shelter, and all of those things. You don't need a lot. But I think that once you heal your financial traumas, right, and you don't have to wake up every day in a survival mode, you can then focus on other areas in your life. But if you never heal the money traumas, they're going to kick your ass every day, and you still don't have time to focus on the real shit, the anxiety, the family's issues. But if I'm able to solve my money trauma, now when I wake up, I'm like, okay, maybe I can spend more time like building that bond back with my mom that was lost in childhood that we never talked about because she was always working. I went to prison. I got out now. I had to start working. We never discussed these things. You know, you get to focus on real issues. But if the money problems are whooping your ass every day, there's no way you're going to be able to get out here and focus, you know, on like real life shit, your anxiety, like your relationships, your childhood traumas. Heal those money traumas. And so that's where that kind of came from. I think reaching a certain level of like, all right, I'm not super rich, but like, I think for the next 6 months to a year, whatever that looks like, I don't have to worry about bread, you know? So now I can focus on some other aspects of my life. And that's, I think it's a super important, like stage in a man's life is like when he finally reaches that level.
Right. You speak about a lot about living within your means too, and not trying to keep up with the Joneses. I've seen a lot on your posts, and that's how you were able to kind of build some financial stability and be able to invest. Do you want to talk about that a little bit for young men that are like, well, how do I do that? How do I have a long-term investment? How do I save? How do I not, you know, just go spend the money and it's just dwindling away because it's in a checking account or a savings account or it's just in my pocket? You know, what would you say to the young man right now that has, let's say, 10 grand, right? Yeah. And wants to know what to do with it where he can, let's say a year later, 2 years later, it looks like something to him. What would you say to that guy?
Well, back to your point, my first off break would be to find a way to minimize your life expenses. So like figure out if you got 10 grand, I legit try. Don't say, oh, I can't do that. Try to live off that 3 grand. Let's say 10 grand is, let's say you got the 10 grand. Try to live on that 3 grand and put that 7,000 somewhere that it's just gone. Like it's there if you absolutely need it, but figure out how to live on that 3 grand. Whether that's deleting Uber. I didn't have Uber and I didn't have none of this shit. When I first got, I ain't had none of this shit. Not because I didn't want it, but I'm just like, young, that shit costs. That shit, I'm not there. Figure out a way to limit Ubers. Figure out a way to not DoorDash. Literally, dating. Figure out a way to like date very inexpensive. Dating costs. Dating costs. If you only got 5, 10 grand, in my opinion, you shouldn't even be dating right now. You ain't got it. Women are expensive, and I don't blame them. You know what I'm saying? Sure, there are some women that will help you, but it's not a woman's job to rescue you from poverty. You shouldn't even want that as a man. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, figure out a way to not, like, I didn't date for years. I wore the same, to this day, I wear the same clothes. I'll buy some thrift shit. I'll rock this shit for 3 years. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't have a pride issue. Like, I'm cool, bro. Like, I know what I got going on. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then it's like, you look at the Elons and the rich, man, wear the shit we wear.
Right.
You might miss them.
Right.
You might got on Wranglers. Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like, it don't matter. And our culture is so caught up on, like, I gotta have the next Louis Vuitton. I gotta have the Yeezys. I gotta have. Reality is you can't afford it. You know what I'm saying? So, like, live below your means.
Right.
Start a Roth IRA or investment account at ASAP. Like, I would tomorrow. Maybe you don't got the money to put in there today. Start it today. Because once you start it, it'll open your brain to see the possibility of what could be of that. And maybe you put $50 in that shit. That $50 in 10 years might be 17,000.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Like, maybe because compound interest just builds. And these are the type of things we were never taught.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And, like, it's not no get rich. I can't tell you how to get rich quick. I can't give you that.
No way,
know that.
unless you want to do something illegal.
You really don't know that.
Right.
This is the story of the tortoise and the hare.
Right.
When it comes to financial success, you got to learn how to be the tortoise, bro. That's it. Let the bunny rip and run, do his thing. That you stay the course. You know what I'm saying? Once you understand that, I think it just opens your mind up for, like, again, what's possible for you.
I agree. You know, I think it's important for people to understand that just because they have the money doesn't mean they can afford it. You know what I mean?
Sure. And too, like, now I look at money as essentially time.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's cliche, but let's say I want to buy something. This thing costs me $5,000 or $1,000. Let's say $1,000. It costs me $1,000. I sit back, especially if I'm working a 9 to 5. I sit back and say, wait, it cost me $1,000, $1,000. How much time did it cost me to make that $1,000? Let's say you're making $40 an hour. You get what I'm saying? Most people not even making that. Right. So $40 an hour to get to 1,000. I don't know. That shit might cost you 25 hours of your life. Is this thing worth 25 hours of your life? If you feel it is, okay, cool, buy it. But you'll be surprised. You'll be like, this shit ain't worth 25 hours of my life. Like, you don't get a lot of hours, bro.
Right.
And so, like, if it is, then I would start looking at your money as your time, essentially. Like, that's very important.
That's the dope way to put it.
And then
that's a cheaper dope way to put it. So I want to talk about Glizzy's, a plant-based food spot you got. First of all, I'm vegetarian, so next time I'm in DC, I will be stopping by. I always see you posted, and I'm like, dang, gotta try it. I know that you look like you eat good food, so I'm like, I know it's got to be good. But how does this tie into your bigger mission, having a place like this?
So it originally started, again, I was training. I've been on tour with Pusha T, Rod Wave, Shaq Glizzy. And so, like, I traveled a lot. And one thing that always stood out in other areas was just, like, food. Like, LA got so many vegan, vegetarian options. And I'm just like, damn, yo, it's not a lot back home. And so, at the time I was training, Shaq Glizzy, who's, like, arguably one of the biggest rappers in our area. And so I brought him the idea of maybe we open up like a Glizzy's. Glizzy's is like what DC is known for, hot dogs, sausages. And we figure out a way to, like, when celebrities or people come into DC, essentially you got to stop by Glizzy's. Like, Glizzy's is like, it's like DC. But some time passed. I ended up taking my little $40,000 or $50,000 and I bought a food truck. And then I had my homeboy at the time who had just, like, was doing his plumbing thing. He was doing, like, electrician plumbing. And he was like, man, I got a little bit of bread. Like, I'm trying to, like, you know, not work as much, invest. And so I took, like, a little bit of his bread. And so we went and bought the food truck. got a lot of paperwork, and that was like kind of like how I started. And I always had this like, I always had this inclination or just like this desire, this feeling to give back to where I come from, which was like ex-felon, prison, that whole lifestyle, at-risk youth. And so I always wanted to, at all of my companies, figure out a way that like helps that community. And so essentially what we do is my entire staff is composed of ex-felons and like at-risk youth. And for me, sure, it's a big risk, sure. But like, who better to deal with that than me? Like, I know this shit. Like, I know this shit like the back of my hand, where most employers are probably afraid to deal with that type of like employee. I'm not. I grew up around this. And for me, it's like giving them a second chance at life, because oftentimes we get put on the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to hiring. Because we've made a mistake in life. It could be one mistake that you've made, and I don't think that makes your life worthless. And so, like with all of my companies, we focus on hiring returning citizens and just giving them a second chance at life. So that, for me, is the bigger vision.
Commend you for that, man. Super dope to give opportunity and to get back to, you know, the people that relate to you, the people that you understand. So I think that even that, I didn't know that that's what, you know, that who you hired. And I think that even makes it even more special, and can't wait to come and support it. What's the biggest lesson you've learned as an entrepreneur that people don't really talk about?
The biggest lesson is that it's hard to manage people, you know, because like, sure, you got the product, sure, you got the branding, you got the marketing. People are very, what's the word I'm looking for? Unpredictable. And so the hardest part of entrepreneurship, especially in a restaurant setting, is learning to manage people. Because people want to be lazy, people want to call out, people want to leave early. And so like learning how to manage people is pretty stressful. You know what I'm saying? And until you figure out a way to manage that and then put a system in place, because I think a successful business has a system. You know, and I teach that with my employees, because oftentimes they'll complain and say like, oh, well, when you post and when you're here, we make money. We make a lot of money. And I'm like, sure, that's fine. That's cool. But I challenge y'all to think, okay, how do we make money if Trell wasn't here? Because if you only make money when I'm there, we don't have a successful business, because now we can't expand because I can't be at each location. It's just impossible. And so I often challenge them to figure out ways to market or connect with people. I think all I do is like people, you know, they love my energy. When I see people walk past the restaurant, I'm like, hey, what's up? How you doing? I might not know you. You might not even be shopping at my store. But I'm like, hey, what's up? How you feeling, man? Good to see you, man. Well, I ain't trying to sell you nothing. I genuinely just ask. I'm genuinely just giving energy. You know what I'm saying? And you'll be surprised that the next time they come out, they're like, oh, what's up? How you doing? Like, I want to check out your food. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, that's the hardest part, man. And being able to say, like, I'm going to do this shit on the days that I don't feel like doing it. Because there's a lot of days where I'm just like, man, over the shit. But if you can figure out a way to get up and do it every single day, sometimes with nothing in return, and you'll learn that if money is the only motivator, oftentimes it doesn't work. You need to be motivated by something bigger than money. Actually, you know, like for me, it's purpose. It's knowing that if this business fails, I got 5 ex-felons who risk going back to prison, who risk having to check in with their PO and say, all right, I lost my job. So for me, that's more important than money. I got 5 lives on my hands. Mm-hmm. And so that's what keeps me going. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, man. Purpose is definitely what has to keep pushing you. It can't only be money. Money can be made off purpose, passion, and consistency. That can't be the thing that you chase. All right, I wanna jump into to dating, relationships, and building with the right person. I know you speak on that a lot as well. And you know, from what I see, you're a ladies' man, Trell. The ladies love you, so they'll probably love this subject. You said you only date with purpose. What does that mean to you?
Um, I think we've been conditioned. I hate to blame it on rap. I don't know
Hey,
what it is, but
yeah.
we've been conditioned to like fuck bitches, get money, like woo woo,
Mhm.
woo, and glamorize that. Like you're incentivized by the amount of women you can get, or like how many women you slept with is like your status. But as I've gotten older, as I've gotten more mature, I've realized that my power is in walking in that same room and knowing that like I ain't sleep with none of them. I could, but I haven't. Like knowing that you can get any chick in this room and none of them can say like, "Oh, girl, like I slept with him." That's that's a flex to me. If I walked in that room and five of them like, "Oh, I was at his crib. I slept with him. I did X, Y, Z." It's like you ain't special.
There's
You know
nothing
what I'm saying? But
exclusive
if
to
I can
you.
walk in there and I'm like, she been at my DM, huh?
I said there's nothing exclusive to you if you can
If I
walk
can
in.
walk in that room, yeah, if I can walk in that room, like she been in my DM for 2 months. She tried to talk to me. I saw her out. Oh, and I ain't touched none of them. That's power to me. You know what I mean? And so also, again, when I spoke about alignment, all of these things align. And I think one thing a lot of us young men fear is commitment because we think or fear, and I'm only speaking like out loudly, like this isn't conclusive. I'm learning as I'm speaking, or I'm really figuring it out. But I think we fear that committing or a commitment would jeopardize or get in the way of us, our hustle or our money. And I would question that because I think that the right woman, the right relationship, one will hold you accountable. I think accountability is one of the main traits that you can have as a man, as a masculine man, is to be accountable for something. You have now have the obligation to be faithful and loyal. These all built, this is fulfillment. There's no greater fulfillment than the fulfillment of finding a lifelong partner. I don't give a fuck what that is. Like to have a partner that you say, you know what? I've given so much to build this and to have kids with this woman. That's a flex, bro. You know, it's not about having sex with all the women. Like anybody can do that, bro. Like
Right.
straight up. Anybody can go out here. Can't anybody sit here and say, like, yo, I've been with my wife for X amount of years. I never cheated. I never wop. Like whatever the case might be. You know what I'm saying? And so like we gotta change our mindset on commitment. I think we're afraid of commitment oftentimes because in my case, I've never seen it. I've never seen my mom be with no shade to my mom, but one man. But my dad, there was another guy, there was another guy, like, and so like we've never seen it, and I was conditioned that this is how this shit go.
Right.
You know, I've never seen happy marriage. Anytime I talk to my uncles or cousins who are married, it's like, man, youngin, don't get married, youngin. Like, and so when you start believe that shit, like you getting fed so much negativity around commitment and marriage and family that like it's scary, you know.
Right.
And so
You
like I
know.
would challenge people to
Yeah.
try. It could be different for you.
Right.
So
Yeah. So you talk about, having the right partner. Can you tell me what you think the biggest mistake men make in choosing a partner?
yeah, I think oftentimes, and I can speak because I'm a man, but like one thing I think the mistake is we, and I hate to say it, but we lie. We go into like boyfriend mode. We think this woman is so attractive and everything that we initially in the beginning, we say and do and be everything we think that this woman wants us to be to seem like the perfect boyfriend, right? And what happens, two things. It's almost manipulation, but like one, it's not sustainable. Because if that's not genuinely, authentically who you are, you can't maintain that. Like it's impossible to maintain that. And so the real you then becomes exposed. And what was my second part was like, oh, your true personality never gets to show. Like you never get to show like who you truly are at heart, at core. And this
Right.
lady might really appreciate and love and respect you for who you are, as opposed to being this like perfect boyfriend. And so what happens is you end up doing that, and then you go through the honeymoon phase. As soon as the happy honeymoon phase is over and like the real you and the real her has to be exposed, because it will be exposed, you jump back into another relationship. And so you're constantly chasing the honeymoon phase because you never learned how to deal with conflict in a relationship, because they say the best and longest relationship happens after you reach stage 3. And I forget exactly what those stages are, but I think it's like honeymoon phase. And the second phase was categorized as like, all right, you both kind of sit and now you start to accept each other for who they are. And then that third phase is accepting your partner for who they are. And like you start to accept each other, and then you're able to move past that. I forget the last, I'm not like a relationship guru. I just read
phases. And I'm back.
Yeah,
Maybe I need those phases. You need to send me some of those, because I love to, you know, and like to say I've been through a few phases with my wife. You know, we've been together 15 years, married 5 years. And, you know, nobody's perfect, but, you know, I'd like to say that we're at those points where, you know, we know who each other are. And no matter what it is, whether it's trauma, whether it's the good things and the bad things, we're willing to accept those things and work on those things with each other, because the thing that matters is the love, right? The thing that matters is the thing you've built, right? Like you said, you built this with this woman, you have kids, you've built, it's like building a house. You've built this house for so long. Why knock down the house that you've built for so long, that you worked on for so long, that you worked on to make it look so great on the interior, on the exterior, everywhere? And that's kind of how I look at it. It's like, yeah, we can have our arguments. We can go through what we go through, but we still building this house, and we're not going to knock this house down for nothing, because it's a strong foundation under it all. You know what I mean?
100%. And we don't know, man. We chase this honeymoon phase. We think based on social media and like books and movies that love is always glamorous and happy, and I love you, kissy, kissy every day. And the reality is, it's really not. You're going to go through them phases, and it's really, it's not about finding the perfect person. I think there's this stigma around like, oh, the perfect person will find you, and you're going to, hey, bro, if that's what you're waiting on, bro, good luck.
It's not gonna happen.
You find you somebody that has similar values and mindset and lifestyle as you, and you find somebody that you want to make it work with, and you make it work. That's it. Like, there's no perfect person. Because if there was a perfect person, I would question if it's like if God had a preordained perfect person for me, I don't know if that I even like. I don't know that it would be fulfillment in that, because it's like it was already hand selected for me. So the beauty of love is that it's a choice. Like, I get to choose this person every single day. Like, I want to be with you. I choose you. Knowing all of your flaws, and I choose you. And if you take that out by having the perfect partner that's paired with you, I don't even know if it's worth, you know?
Yeah. Now, so, let me know, how does having...
And again, I'm single. I've been single like 2 years. So, like, I'm still...
Yeah, so, you know, I'd love to hear what you think. How does having the right woman or the wrong one affect a man's success and mental health?
I saw a quote the other day, and I was like, wow, it sums it up. It's not complicated. They said choosing the wrong partner would be the biggest life mistake you'd ever make. Or choosing the right partner will be I believe that, because you got to spend your life with this person. Like, every day, like, it's like every day, it's like, it's a commitment of like essentially every day, man. And like the right woman would like give life to you. I think women are, and I speak on this all the time, because I hate this whole gender war shit online. Like, I hate it. I ain't with it. I don't want to compete with a woman. I don't want to be a woman. I can never be a woman. Like, you know, I can't speak for a woman. So when they like, oh, give the ladies advice, I love to, but like, I'm not a woman. I only speak from a man's perspective. As a man, again, your moral obligations to yourself and to God is to protect and provide. And I think if you're able to find a way, nobody's perfect, to do that efficiently or effectively, the right woman multiplies whatever that is. She takes and she helps you to multiply whatever that is.
Yep.
And the wrong woman will do the complete opposite. She'll drain you. And I've been in that before, where the wrong woman, where you constantly give, and she just feels better and better about herself. And you can't really control other people's actions and what they got going on. You can only be yourself.
Yeah.
So like I think that's pivotal, and like take your time. People start dating somebody and get married in like a year. I don't get it, but like I'm like young. I done seen people be somebody completely different for a year. Like I need a date. Sure. I need to see how you handle conflict first. We've never had an argument. It's been 4 months. What you mean you want to be my girlfriend? We never even had our first argument. I don't know how you handle disagreement. What if I don't know how you handle a death in the family? Like I want to see the.
I need to see it all.
But I want to see the bad shit. Yeah, I want to see the bad shit. I want to see how you respond to the bad shit. Because It's easy to be good when shit going good, but like, how do you respond to X, Y, and Z? And so like,
that's deep.
Take your time, man.
Yeah,
take your time. Not too much time. Don't let that be your excuse to avoid commitment. That's not what I'm saying. But like, take your time. Find that person. Take your time. Study that person. Same way you got your best friend. You know your best friend how many years? They ain't happen overnight. Y'all ain't become best friends in 2 days. It took you some time. Y'all went through shit.
Yeah, take your time. So yeah, I love how you always speak about a man not having enough money to date, or when it's right to date. What's one piece of advice you would give to a man about dating while building their future? Because it can get very hard trying to do both. You want to date, but you also got goals and plans, but you also don't want to wait too long when you can't get a woman, you know what I mean, in that right state. It's a very hard balance for men, is what I'm seeing. And a lot of my friends as well, you know what I mean? It's very hard for them to focus on building their future, but also wanting to find the right person to date.
Yeah, I would say for sure, like I spoke on earlier, before being in a relationship, I think there's a base level of emotionally, mental, physical, financial stability that every man needs. Like, try to live on your own at least once in your lifetime. Have a base level of income and sustainability. It don't have to be a shit ton of money, but a base level so that you're able to provide. Because women, for history of time, and again, I don't think there's nothing wrong with it. Women, when you look at the history of dating, women date across and up. The reason that they date across and up is because in a relationship, in sex, they oftentimes risk a lot more in sex than men do. They risk pregnancy, they risk all type of shit. And so a woman's mindset, and sometimes she might not even know it, but she ultimately wants to date and mate with a man that, let's say she does get pregnant, that can provide for a family. And so when men are like, oh, she trying to date for money, it's like, yeah, because like she risked the next 9 months to a year, and then even beyond, because she still has to raise that child. So ultimately, a woman will want a guy that's able to like provide. And so base level of financial stability, I think, is a must. Living on your own at least once.
He's also got to understand that he's got to be ready to date. No matter, you can't rush the process, but you got to be ready to date. And I think that's the most important thing. You got to have your shit together. A lot of men go into it without their shit together, and then, it just creates just not a good relationship, for either party. So being ready, I think, is important. I think even on the women's side, too, is being ready to date as well, and understanding what you're bringing to the table and what you're not bringing to the table on both sides can really help both people understand, what they're dealing with when they walk into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. So that's the last thing you want to do is drag a woman down like that.
Nope. You don't want to do that. You don't want to waste your time. I'm heavy on that. I had a famous quote that was basically like, take people serious that are taking life serious, right? Like, if you got a good woman, I said this before, if you got a good woman and you're not taking her serious, you should just get out of her way and let another man take her serious, and let another man flourish, and let another man pour into her, let another man help her grow. And that goes the same for women. If you're with a good dude and you're just not ready for that, and you want to still be going out and hanging with your friends and not build that future with that man, leave that man alone. Let him go find a woman that is ready for that. You know what I mean? Let him go. So,
for sure.
As we wrap it up, I know you have a lot of self-care practices, daily habits, books you read. For someone that's watching this, what's one small but powerful change they can make right now?
The advice I would give to like a 18-year-old will probably be different from advice I would give to like a 30-year-old. But I think is finding out a way to in your life adopt maximal responsibility, right? What that means is find a way to lift the load in society, you know, and the reason being is that, like, again, happiness is fleeting. If like how society is teaching us, like, yeah, you need to be happy. Happiness isn't my goal. I don't wake up every day trying to figure out how I need to be happy. I figure out a way to get closer to fulfillment. What's something I can do today that will make me feel fulfilled in life? And oftentimes that is lifting a load in this society, whether that's paying my mom's mortgage, whether that's helping the lady carry her groceries down the street, whether that's pulling over for a stranger, giving them a jump. I'm not saying do anything you're not comfortable with, but if every day you can find a way, especially in your purpose, but find a way to lift a load or adopt some type of responsibility, you'll find the meaning that sustains you in life.
Love that. I love that, man. I mean,
that's what I find, man. That's my fulfillment and my purpose and it comes from just giving back to others, like sharing my story so that a 16-year-old kid doesn't have to go to prison. So a 16-year-old kid can be like, you know what? Maybe I'll start making TikTok videos. I don't need to sell drugs or play ball or rap. There's other ways, you know?
There's a lot of
that fulfillment. Yeah, man. I think that'll help so many young men. Because they feel essentially they feel worthless. They feel a lack of self-worth. And I always tell young men that, like, you mean something to this world, you know? Like, this world is a much better place with you in it. And I think it's your duty, however, to find that meaning that sustains you so that you're able to continue to give back to society. And so.
Know that, man. And that's why conversations like this, what you and I are important, is for those young men and those, you know, even older men to kind of watch this, pay attention to it, get inspired, get motivated, hear what we're talking about. Because this may seem like common sense to us, but there's so many people out there that don't have the resources, the knowledge, the sense to hear what we're talking about, because most knowledge comes off of experience. And a lot of people just haven't experienced enough to kind of understand some of these things that we speak about. So that's why I appreciate you coming on a podcast like this and talking to me and being able to kind of inspire others and let other people know that, like, there's all different type of options out here. You know what I mean? So, you know, I really appreciate you coming by, my brother. You know what I mean? I don't want to take up too much more of your time.
I appreciate you for what you're doing, bro. I don't know if you get your flowers, bro. Like, I was telling my shorty this the other day. I'm like, nah, like, yo, we used to watch this dude as a kid. Like, we watched him grow up on the screen. Like, I used to be at the crib, like, damn, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that ain't minor. And so to see even you having, and I don't know what you've been through, but I'm sure you've been through something, to growing up as a kid on TV, your whole life being exposed to, like, where you are now, like that. I can't, you know what I'm saying? I can't fathom what that is to even like. And so, like, to do that and then to come back and have For Good podcasts and giving other people the opportunity to share their story and what they've been through, I think, bro, that's like a blessing, and I'm grateful and I appreciate you, bro.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You're right, man. You know, I've been through a lot in my life, and I felt like you talk about purpose a lot, and I felt like this podcast is my purpose, and other things I'm doing is my purpose. It's like you said, giving back. I'm all about giving back. I was raised fortunate, you know, and, you know, I've been through some things, but I feel like I have so many life experiences to offer people, and I have so many different things to tell people that can kind of veer them the right way and kind of let them know that there are other options and that there's other things going on out here. So I really appreciate you giving me my flowers, my brother. Like, that's
always, bro. I want you to have them while you're here, man.
Thank you,
I ain't gonna wait. I want you to have them while you're here. You feel me?
Thank you, brother.
You deserve them, bro.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the For Good podcast today with my guy, Trell, the trainer. This is the For Good podcast where we focus on the good, never the bad. Where we're measured on what we do and not what we have. We signing out. Thank you, guys. Much love. Peace.
Let's go. My God. See you soon, bro.